Morgan, you mentioned resilience, the ability to bounce back from any setback. What is resilience to you?
Resilience can be summarized as, in very simple terms, perhaps, is never giving up, being able to take a knee when there are difficult situations, and then able to move forward. Do not get blocked by any decision that you might need to take, no matter how difficult that is, and succeeding in whatever you are trying to do. And resilience is different for many people, and very often it's a combination of many things in life. And when I look at resilience in my case, there may be very different reasons how I've built my resilience as we went along. Because one of them was, so when I was a kid, I believe I had a very happy childhood. But going back, I mean, I was the eldest of 3.
Same here.
So I had to grow up and step up on certain roles as being the eldest from we are 3 brothers. We had instances of, today it's no longer a taboo, but my mom from time to time suffered from depression, for example, so I had to kind of deal with that situation and bounce back. And so when I grew up, I realized that helped my resilience. But when I was a kid, I mean, it was kind of a matter of the situation and having to grow up fast in dealing with those situations. But however, I think what has helped me a lot from a resilience point of view was, and as I told you before I was listening to one of your other podcasts, was sports. Because I was an athlete, particularly in the 1500 meter race and the middle distance running. And the determination and the dedication into the sport formed, to some extent, who I am today. Because it builds your character. I mean, in my secondary school, that's when I realized I was good at running. Whilst some of, or most of my classmates were maybe going, and I don't know whether it still happens today, more privat. My privat was not an opportunity because my time after school was training.
Yeah.
So I remember I had to make sure, first of all, that I am listening to what's happening at school.
Yeah.
And then making time to train, whether it's raining, whether it's sunny, hot, and making sure that you are performing to your optimal peak and being able to take the hits when maybe sometimes you don't reach a certain objective and goal that you've been trying to aim at. And you missed it. Very often you're competing against yourself. And this is maybe why it also helped me form, because very often my competitor is not another business, but what are the goals of the company going forward. So resilience is basically bouncing back from difficult situations and making sure that you learn from any situation you've gone through. And as a leader, being able to empower others to also be resilient, because they will also have their own challenges in life, not only at work. And you need to be enabling these people to be able to tackle such problems. And sometimes you won't even know of these challenging situations of people at home. If the atmosphere is positive and open, you probably will get to know very quickly. But the common denominator might be, I might not know of something, and we need to help people overcome any obstacle.
Okay. So resilience to you is about trying to think in a positive way and to always be forward thinking, and at the same time inspiring others to move forward, not necessarily with you, but at least move forward in their own.
Because it's not about you.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to help people on their own merits, on whatever is happening in their life, even at work. So yes, I think being positive is very important for me. Because especially when I realized how important it is, when I became a CEO, Because sometimes being kind of the leader responsible for a particular company can become also very lonely. And you need to be, you need to find ways of making sure you're always stepping your motivation level and your positivity, because sometimes people around you pull you down. So what do? You need to make sure that you are finding ways of always being the beacon.
Yes.
So being positive, even sometimes, I joke about that. So my positivity is X, so sometimes take it a few notches down
Okay.
just to be more neutral. But ultimately, if you don't dream big, the jumps you make are very limited.
Yes.
So I guess being positive on possibly succeeding,
Yes.
and very often you come close to it if you not bang on.
You should have an element of fear when you dream big, because sometimes a big dream is bigger than you in that sense, and that it instills some sort of fear. And I think it should.
Always.
Because it should.
Always.
It should, because
if there is in this level of fear, you will not look for solutions or plans to overcome whatever might come along in this journey. So fear, it's like public speaking as well. I mean, fear is also,
Yes.
I mean, it shouldn't block you, but it's important not to take anything for granted. So fear in life, I think it's something which you, if used well, it is an enabling factor rather than a limiting factor, because fear gets you to do something. But if it blocks you from doing something, then it becomes kind of a paralysis.
it depends on how you see it, whether you see it as a challenge or a threat.
Yes.
So there's actually a theory on that. There's quite some good research on that. Basically, when you're faced with something, it's the way your upbringing does play a role in this. It's how you see a situation, whether you see it as a challenge or a threat. If you see it as a threat, the fight or flight instinct kicks in. Yep. But if you see it as a challenge, you try to find a work around it, or you try to find a solution. And it doesn't mean that if you're wired to think in one way or another, you will always think like that. There will always be some situations in which you are afraid of something, and you think see it as a form of trigger. But if you're aware of this, okay, I see this as a trigger. Why? And then you start reflecting on that and try to find. I like to call these counters. Sometimes we have weaknesses, and not necessarily weaknesses, but something that we're not really good at. And it's not about fixing the weakness or simply improving the weakness, but a counter of that. How can I counter it? Or either with my strengths, or whether I can build up new systems so that I can support my weakness. So it's sort of a counter.
For me, fear is one of the most important fuels in life. Because when you're taking risks, fear comes part and parcel. And some of the best ideas came to fruition when I was in a very anxious state. Anxiety, if it's constant, is not healthy.
Yes.
But I think you need to accept, especially in certain positions, that anxiety comes with the job. So by acknowledging that anxiety comes with the job, helps you deal with it. And because I think I definitely suffer from anxiety from time to time. But if anything, what I need to do is I realize, what do I need to do to tone it down? So in my case, I need to set a new goal, not related to business. Very often it's personal. Okay, let me subscribe myself on the next half marathon or marathon. Because that will, the actual physical exercise will help me dissipate and get rid of some of the anxiety which is unhealthy, get it to a level which I can use, and then implement it. So if so maybe for me a counter measure is running in this case. I go back to running very often when I need to reflect, when when I'm in a very challenging situation. And very often for me, it works. I mean,
I never saw anxiety as this kind of tool, but what I remembered is that so one of the most common positions to be in for creativity is boredom. So if you're bored, you're more creative. But from what you're saying, I can also see the fact that if you're anxious, if you're put in a corner, and I remembered the last minute exam or the last minute study, if you're put in a corner, you're trying to find a way out, and because you're trying to find a way out, you might be creative and that sort of process.
Yes, I feel that
Okay.
describes me very well to some extent.
Okay.
So even if there's an exam, I would have been the person that would have possibly waited until the
Oh yes,
very end
same here.
to start
Yeah.
studying.
I kind of enjoy the thrill.
So yes, you need to keep it at bay. Officers, you need to make sure that it
Yeah.
doesn't paralyze your thoughts
Yeah.
or it hinders your relationships. Because
Yeah.
when there's excessive levels of anxiety, then it has an impact on your relationships, on
For
your
sure.
interactions with your team, with your family. I mean, I have 2 kids with my wife, and there were occasions where I realized that, I think we're on the red at the moment,
Yeah.
and I need to get some steam
Yes.
out of the system to be able to go back to a level of anxiety which makes sense. For the past 10 years, I can't think of any situation where that was never present. It's become kind of
It's the norm.
the norm, yes.
Yeah, it is the norm.
But as I said, trying to keep it manageable.
Yeah, being aware of your limitations, and not limitations in the sense that you can't go further, but your limits, what can you tolerate, the level of tolerance.
Yes.
That's very important. And tolerance can increase as well. But
Oh yes, most definitely. It's a muscle.
yes,